Let's try another international call. Let's go to Syed from Bangladesh. Syed, you're on the air.
Hello.
Hi.
Thank you for actually selecting me. I have been like trying to get on your call for a few, I'd say weeks, I guess.
My pleasure.
So okay. Uh, uh, the thing I'm going to ask you, it's not really like it's sort of your opinion. I would really like to know what you feel about this. So hear me out.
Sure.
So as you can completely guess, I am not from America, right? But I can like in a lot of like because of a lot of international issues and stuff, we end up like listening to our American politics and like basically international involvements and basically so during this like pandemic and the other stuff, when I had much more like time to actually look through all of the stuff, I have noticed something like very, I would say, surprising in let's say in America right now. So hear me out on this one. Currently, I can see that most of the people who are let's say they are right wingers, they are religious or whatnot, and they are basically like trying to they have their own set of ideologies, let's say, and left have their own set of ideologies. And right now, let's say the Muslim populations in the West, they are kind of like in a scenario where they sort of feel like they are in some kind of political homelessness. That is something that I'm going to say. So let's say like someone is like a practicing Muslim, let's say, and he wants to basically follow like traditional stuff and do religious worshipping and other stuff like that. And basically a person like that oftentimes like doesn't get along with let's say insane someone who is like very hardcore lefty, right? And then you have on the other side the right wingers who are actually like they claim to be religious, and they are practitioners of mostly Christianity, and then they have problems with Muslims, right?
Yeah.
So I have seen this scenario where like Muslims feel like political homelessness, and like any kind of, I'd say like the right wing people, I would say that they're basically shooting themselves in their foot when they are doing all this like let's say some sort of anti-Muslim stuff.
Yeah.
And and then they're wondering, yeah, why are we losing?
Right.
What do you think about that?
I think it's a very astute point. So if you consider the religious Muslim community, you have folks who culturally are really more in line with the religious Christian community, often in terms of the role they want to see religion play in civil government, in terms of cultural norms, in terms of social norms. But Republicans in the United States, they are like that only with regard to Christianity. And sometimes they'll pretend with Judaism as well, although really they're often anti-Semitic, but it's more complicated.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
So that's really where the
say.
Muslims would find a cultural social home, but the Republicans don't want them. And then on the left, those very same religious Muslims would often say, oh, these folks want secularism. That's not what I want either. And it leaves these folks sort of out in a no man's land. I think it's a very astute analysis, and I think you're completely right, Syed.
I think it is going to like let me explain a scenario. Like I'm gonna tell you something.
Syed, I have so many people holding. I'm gonna let you go now because we've done. I think we've done a good amount today. But call back, okay? But I love the point you made.
Okay.
Very good. All right, Syed from Bangladesh. Extraordinarily good point. Let's take a quick break. If you're holding, don't hang up because I'm going right back to the phones in a moment.